Welcome back to the Whisper Knows. This is the place where stories don't scream, they whisper. Tonight's question is simple, and once you hear it, you won't be able to unhear it.
What if it's true that your childhood friend never existed? Not in the way you remember, not in the way you swear is real. What if the laughter in your backyard, the secret games, the promises whispered under blankets were never shared with anyone at all? And what if the moment you realize it is the moment they realize you're remembering? You don't forget your first best friend. Even if you forget their face, you remember the feeling. That safe certainty of someone choosing you. For Mara, the name was Eli. She said it the way you say a word you've said your whole life, automatic, effortless, like breathing. Eli was her childhood friend, her co-conspirator, her shadow in summer. He lived next door, in the house with the cracked walkway and the porch swing that squeaked like an old lullaby. They built forts, collected jarred fireflies, played hide and seek until the sky turned purple. And when Mara was afraid at night, Eli would tap on her window. 3 taps, always 3. Then he'd whisper, "I'm here." It was the kind of memory that feels too warm to question, until the day Mara tried to prove it.
Mara was 32 when she went back to her hometown. Not for nostalgia, for a funeral. Her mother's sister had passed, and family grief has a way of dragging you into rooms you thought you'd outgrown. After the service, Mara found herself in her childhood bedroom, surrounded by old boxes her mother never threw away. Trophies, crayon drawings, a shoebox labeled in neat handwriting, Mara, important. Inside were photographs, dozens, birthday parties, school plays, backyard summers, her father holding a grill, her mother squinting into sunlight, Mara with missing teeth laughing hard, and Eli. Mara smiled. There he was. She could finally show her fiancé Jonah proof that she wasn't making it up. She pulled out one picture from the middle of the stack, a backyard photo. Mara, 8 years old, sitting on the grass with someone beside her. Eli. Except, Jonah leaned closer and frowned. "Mara," he said carefully, "there's no one there." Mara laughed. "What do you mean?" He pointed. In the photo, Mara was sitting alone. Her arm was wrapped around nothing. A gap in the grass where Eli should have been. Mara's smile faltered. She flipped to the next photo. Same backyard, different day. Her hand raised in a wave, like someone had just called her name, but she was waving at empty air. Another photo, Mara holding a trophy, grinning. Her other hand was clasped as if linked with a friend, but it wasn't linked with anyone. Every photo that Mara remembered Eli being in showed Mara alone. Jonah's voice dropped. "Are you sure you had a friend?" Mara swallowed. She was sure. She had to be, because she could still hear him tapping the window. 3 taps, always 3.
Mara left the box open on her bed and went downstairs, heart beating too fast. Her mother was in the kitchen with relatives, laughing in that tired, brittle way people laugh when grief is still nearby. Mara waited until she could pull her mother aside. "Mom," she said, trying to sound casual, "do you remember Eli, the boy next door?" Her mother blinked. "Eli?" Mara nodded. "My best friend. We played all the time." Her mother's face did something strange, like it tried to form a memory and couldn't find the shape. "Mara," she said slowly, "you didn't have a boy next door." "Yes, I did." Her mother shook her head, gentler now. "Honey, the house next door was empty. It was condemned. Nobody lived there." Mara's mouth went dry. "That's not true," she whispered. Her mother's eyes flicked away. "You used to play in the yard by yourself," she said. "Talk to yourself. Your father didn't like it." Mara's skin prickled. "I wasn't talking to myself," she said, voice sharper. "I was talking to Eli." Her mother went very quiet. Then, almost reluctantly, she said, "I stopped talking about him the day you came home with mud on your knees and blood on your palm." Mara's stomach dropped. "What?" Her mother swallowed. "You told me you fell, but you kept staring at the empty lot next door like someone was standing there." Mara's heart hammered because she remembered that day. She remembered running, remembered Eli pulling her hand, remembered his voice close to her ear. "Don't tell them."
That night, Mara couldn't sleep. She lay in her childhood bed, staring at the ceiling where glow-in-the-dark stars used to be. She tried to force the memories into order. Eli's face was blurry now, not forgotten, smudged, like a pencil sketch left in rain. But the feeling of him was too real. The sound of his laugh, the way he smelled like sun-warmed wood, the way he always knew the hiding places that adults wouldn't find. Mara got up and opened her window. The night air smelled like wet leaves and distant smoke. She looked toward the empty lot next door. It was darker than it should have been. No porch light, no house silhouette, just weeds and a leaning fence. And then, 3 taps, soft, precise, from behind her, from inside the room. Mara spun. Her window was open. The sound hadn't come from outside. It had come from the glass of her closet mirror. 3 taps, always 3. Mara stared at her reflection, her own face pale and wide-eyed. But behind her, in the mirror, someone stood in the corner of her childhood room. A child-sized shape, still, watching. Mara turned around. The corner was empty. She looked back. The shape was closer. And for the first time in years, Mara remembered something she hadn't let herself remember. Eli never came through the door. He always came through the window.
The next morning, Mara drove to the town library, not because she believed in ghosts, because she believed in records. If Eli existed, there would be something, a school photo, a yearbook, a class roster. The librarian, a woman with silver hair and a patient smile, helped her search old school archives. Mara found her own name easily, found Jonah's mother, found kids she barely remembered. But Eli? There was no Eli, no last name, no first name, no placeholder. It was like the space where his name should have been had been erased clean. Mara's hands shook as she flipped through a yearbook from 3rd grade. There she was, in a class photo. Mara leaned in, eyes scanning faces, and froze. Because in the back row, behind Mara's shoulder, was a blur. Not a child, not a face, just a smudge of dark where something had been. The librarian noticed her expression. "What is it?" Mara pointed. "That," she whispered, "that's him." The librarian's smile vanished. She took the yearbook and closed it slowly. "You shouldn't be looking for that," she said. Mara's blood ran cold. "You know," Mara said. The librarian hesitated, then lowered her voice.
There are stories, she said, about children who make friends when they're lonely. Mara's throat tightened. Imaginary friends? The librarian shook her head. Not imaginary, she whispered. Borrowed. Mara's pulse thudded in her ears. Borrowed from where? The librarian didn't answer. She slid the yearbook back into the drawer like it was something that might bite. Then she said, "Some children grow up, and the friend doesn't."
That afternoon, Mara returned to her mother's house and dug deeper into the shoebox. Under the photographs, wrapped in tissue paper, was an old cassette tape. A label in her mother's handwriting, Mara, 1999. Mara found an ancient tape recorder in the attic. It took her 20 minutes to make it work. When it finally clicked, the speaker hissed with static. Then, a child's voice. Mara's voice. High, bright, excited. "I'm recording because Eli says we have to," little Mara said. Mara's stomach clenched. Then another voice joined in. Soft, close to the microphone. A boy's voice, warm as a secret. "Tell it the rules," Eli whispered. Adult Mara's hands went numb. Little Mara giggled. "Rule 1, she said, you can't tell grown-ups." "Rule 2, Eli said, voice sharper now, you can't write my name." "Rule 3, little Mara said, proudly, if you see the door in the mirror, you don't touch it." There was a pause. Then little Mara asked, "Eli, what happens if I forget?" The tape crackled. Eli's voice lowered into something that didn't sound like a child anymore. Something older, hollow. "If you forget," he said softly, "I get to keep you." The tape hissed violently, like someone dragged nails across the microphone. Then it stopped. Mara sat perfectly still, the recorder humming in the silence. Outside her bedroom, the house creaked, and from the closet mirror, 3 taps. Always 3. Mara stood slowly and crossed the room toward the mirror. Her reflection stared back, but the corner behind her in the glass was no longer empty. The child-sized shape was there again, closer, and this time it lifted its hand, and on the mirror's surface, fogged from the inside, letters began to form, not written, not carved, breathed. A message slowly appearing like it had been waiting years to say it. "I'm still here." Mara stepped back from the mirror. Her heart was pounding so hard it felt like it might echo. "I'm still here." The words lingered on the glass for a few seconds longer, then slowly faded like breath in cold air. The mirror showed only her reflection again, but something was wrong. Her reflection wasn't breathing. Mara pressed her hand to her chest. She could feel her heart racing. In the mirror, her chest stayed still. Then, her reflection smiled. Not a wide smile, not a happy one, a familiar one. The kind of smile Eli used to make when he knew something she didn't. Mara stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the edge of the bed. "No," she whispered, "you're not real." The reflection tilted its head, and from the mirror, Eli's voice came softly, patiently. "I was real to you." Mara fled the room and locked herself in the bathroom. She splashed cold water on her face, gasping, grounding herself in sensation. This is grief, she told herself. Stress, childhood memories misfiring. But the mirror above the sink showed something else. Mara remembered now, the parts she had pushed away. Eli didn't age. Every summer, she grew taller. Eli stayed the same. When teachers asked who she was talking to, Eli would disappear. Not leave, disappear. And the games, they were never normal. He always wanted to play near mirrors, near windows, near reflective water. Once, when Mara was 9, she asked him why. Eli had shrugged and said, "That's where the doors are thin." Mara's breath caught. The bathroom mirror shimmered slightly, like heat rising from pavement, and behind her reflection, a crack appeared. Not in the glass, in the image itself, a vertical line splitting the reflected room. A door. Mara backed away until she hit the wall. "I don't want to play anymore," she said. The mirror door widened. Inside it, darkness stretched deeper than the room should allow. Eli stepped into view. Not fully. He looked almost like the boy she remembered. Same height, same hair. But his eyes, they reflected too much, like mirrors themselves. "You never finished the game," Eli said. Mara's voice trembled. "What game?" Eli smiled, wider now. "Hide and stay." Mara's blood ran cold. She remembered. It wasn't hide and seek, it was hide and stay. Eli would hide, and Mara would promise not to leave, not to forget him, not to tell anyone. "You promised," Eli said gently. "You promised when you saw the door." Mara shook her head. "I was a child." Eli's smile didn't fade. "So was I," he said. But the way he said it made her realize he wasn't talking about the same thing. Mara ran downstairs, out of the house and into the cold afternoon air. She drove without thinking, hands shaking on the wheel. She didn't stop until she reached the empty lot next door, the place where Eli's house had never been. Weeds choked the ground. The fence leaned like it was tired of standing. Mara stepped through the tall grass, memories crashing over her. Here was where they buried things, toys, notes, promises. Mara knelt near the center of the lot and found it. A patch of ground where nothing grew, smooth, pressed, like it had been disturbed again and again. Mara scraped at the dirt with her hands. Her fingers hit something solid, glass, a shard of mirror wrapped in rotting cloth. As she touched it, images flooded her mind. Children alone, children unseen, children listening to voices adults couldn't hear. Eli wasn't imaginary, he was a latch, a thing that attached itself to lonely children, something that used reflection as a doorway, a presence that needed to be remembered so it could stay. And when the child grew up, Eli needed a replacement. Mara understood now. She broke Rule 3. If you see the door in the mirror, you don't touch it. She remembered the night it happened. She had been 11. Older, braver. Eli showed her the door in the mirror and dared her to touch it. Just once. She had reached out, and the mirror had felt warm, alive. She screamed. Her parents rushed in. And the next morning, Eli was gone. Not defeated, just waiting. Waiting for her to forget. Waiting for the game to reset. Mara stood slowly. The shard of mirror in her hand reflected her face, and for a moment, Eli's face overlaid her own, smiling. "You came back," he said, his voice whispering from everywhere at once.
That night, Mara sat alone in her childhood room. Every mirror was covered. Sheets, towels, tape. Except one, the small hand mirror she held tightly in her lap. She knew what Eli wanted: to be remembered, to be spoken, to be carried forward. That's how he survived. Mara stared into the mirror. "I remember you," she said softly. The mirror vibrated. Eli's voice sharpened. "You don't get to quit." Mara lifted the mirror and brought it down hard against the floor. It shattered. The sound was deafening. The lights flickered. From every corner of the room came a scream, not loud, not angry, panicked, like something realizing the door was closing. Mara didn't stop. She smashed the mirror again and again until there was nothing left but glittering fragments. Silence fell, heavy, final. Mara left town the next morning. She never returned. Years passed. She married Jonah, had a daughter, a bright, quiet child who liked to sit alone and talk to herself. One night, Mara passed her daughter's room and froze. The girl was sitting on her bed, facing the mirror, smiling. Mara stepped forward. Her daughter turned. "Mom," she said, "there's a boy who wants to play." Mara swallowed hard. "What's his name?" The girl hesitated. "I don't know," she said. "He says I can't say it yet." Mara walked into the room. She gently turned the mirror to face the wall and said the words she had learned too late. "You don't need him." The room stayed quiet. The mirror showed nothing.
Some friends help us grow. Others help themselves stay alive. And sometimes, the ones we remember the most are the ones who never existed at all. Because they weren't meant to grow with us. They were meant to replace us.
This has been The Whisper Knows. And tonight, if you ever think back to a childhood friend no one else remembers, ask yourself one question. Did you imagine them, or did you survive them? Good night. Subscribe if you dare to listen.